The day started like any other. The sun rose in the east, and the world went about its usual business. But something strange was happening in the skies. It started with a few news reports of unusual lights and odd shapes moving across the heavens. At first, people thought it was just another meteor shower, or maybe a trick of the light. But then, the shapes became clearer, and it was obvious to everyone. Something was coming. By mid-afternoon, the first ships were visible to the naked eye. They were massive, much larger than anything humanity had ever seen. Thousands of ships, no, fleets, lined the sky, covering the entire horizon. They hovered just beyond Earth's atmosphere, casting long shadows across the planet. It was a sight that took people's breath away, and not in a good way. Panic spread quickly as governments scrambled to understand what was happening. News agencies around the world began broadcasting live footage of the alien fleet. Experts were called in, but no one knew what to make of it. The ships were too advanced, and their origins too mysterious. At first, it seemed as if the aliens were waiting. Waiting for what? No one could say. It wasn't long before a transmission came through. It was a clear and concise message in perfect English, as if the speaker had studied the language for years. The voice was cold, distant, almost mechanical. "We are the Galactic Empire. We have come to claim this world. Your species has no place in the galaxy. Submit to our rule or face destruction." The message was simple, direct, and filled with an eerie sense of finality. Earth's leaders, who had just been sitting in meetings and conferences, now faced an impossible decision. Some thought it was a joke. Others feared it was real. A few argued for an immediate response, sending military forces to attack. But how could they fight a force they couldn't understand? How could they fight something so far beyond their knowledge? The world's military forces were on high alert, but there was little they could do. It was impossible to prepare for an enemy that could destroy a planet with a single order. The United Nations called an emergency meeting, summoning representatives from every nation. The fate of Earth rested on their shoulders, and yet no one had any answers. Hours passed, and the alien ships did nothing. They just floated in place, as though watching, observing. Some began to question the Empire's true intentions. Was the message a bluff? Could they really be as powerful as they claimed? But doubt was quickly replaced by fear. The ships were not moving in any way that suggested they were here to trade, to help, or to make peace. They were here to conquer, and they were giving humanity a chance to comply. One chance. As night fell, world leaders gathered in secret. The United States, China, Russia, and all the major nations put aside their differences for the first time in history. They knew this was not just a military threat. It was an existential one. The future of humanity was in the hands of a few key decision-makers, and no one knew what to do. General Anna Carter, a top advisor to the U.S. President, stood in front of a large screen showing the alien ships overhead. Her eyes were tired, her mind racing with possibilities. "We have to act quickly," she said, her voice low but determined. "We don't know what their capabilities are, but we can't let them think we'll go down without a fight." Her words echoed across the room. Every representative nodded, though none of them seemed to have a plan that could actually work. The alien fleet was far beyond anything Earth had ever faced. Their technology was light years ahead, and they had shown no signs of aggression yet. But the threat of their power hung over the world like a storm cloud. Back in the streets, the people of Earth had no idea what was happening behind closed doors. They looked up in awe, many with fear in their eyes, others frozen in place, staring at the ships that had appeared from the void of space. Governments had gone silent, unsure of what to say, unsure of what to promise. In the chaos of uncertainty, one man stood out. A former astronaut, Dr. James Callanan, had spent years studying the stars. He had been on the first manned mission to Mars, and his voice carried weight in scientific circles. He stood before a global audience, broadcasted live on every channel. "We don't know who they are," he said, "but we do know one thing. We are humans. We don't surrender. not without a fight. His words resonated with millions. There was a sense of unity among the people of Earth. They didn't have a plan. They didn't have the weapons, but they had something the aliens couldn't understand: the will to survive. But what did that mean in the face of such an overwhelming force? No one knew, but one thing was certain. The war for Earth had begun, and humanity had been given only one warning. The days following the arrival of the Galactic Empire were filled with fear and confusion. Earth's governments, once divided by politics and national interests, now faced a common enemy. The world's major powers came together, forced to set aside their differences in the face of a threat they didn't understand. Scientists, military leaders, and diplomats worked around the clock, but their efforts seemed futile. The Empire's ships remained silent, hovering over Earth with an air of authority. People across the globe sat in front of their televisions and radios, waiting for answers. Some tried to find comfort in the idea that this might all be a mistake, a misunderstanding. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. This was no accident. The Empire had come to Earth with one goal: domination. General Anna Carter, who had once led missions across the world, was now tasked with leading Earth's defense. She met with world leaders in a secure location, preparing for the unimaginable. Despite the uncertainty, there was one thing she was certain of: humanity would not kneel. "We can't afford to be afraid," General Carter said firmly, standing before a large screen filled with footage of the alien fleet. "If we give up now, we're finished. They may be stronger, but they don't understand us. They don't know what we're capable of." Her words resonated with the room. There was a flicker of hope in the eyes of the leaders who had gathered there. They had no idea how to fight back against such advanced technology, but they knew that if they showed any sign of weakness, Earth would fall without a single shot being fired. Across the globe, humanity's resolve began to solidify. People from all walks of life, soldiers, scientists, farmers, teachers, and even children, began to come together. Communities worked side by side, offering whatever they could to help prepare for the conflict ahead. Earth's most brilliant minds turned their attention to the alien ships. They studied the technology with hope, searching for any possible weakness. Meanwhile, Dr. James Callahan, the former astronaut, became a voice of unity for Earth's citizens. He appeared on broadcasts, urging people not to panic, to remember their strength. He spoke of the many challenges humanity had overcome in the past: the space race, the wars, the struggles to survive on Earth's harshest terrains. If humanity could survive that, they could survive this. "We may be outmatched," Dr. Callahan said in one of his speeches, "but we've faced the impossible before, and we're still here." His words stirred something deep within the people. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their home, for their future, and for the generations yet to come. Every country, every city, every village began to organize. They weren't going to go down without a fight. As the world prepared, the Empire sent another transmission. This time, it was a direct threat from the leader of the Galactic Empire, Emperor Kale. His voice was cold, filled with arrogance. "You have one opportunity to submit. If you refuse, we will destroy your planet and move on. Your species is weak. You cannot win. This is your last chance." The message was clear. The Empire had no intention of negotiating. Earth had one choice: surrender or face complete destruction. But instead of submitting, humanity responded with defiance. In a bold move, the United Nations decided to broadcast their own message, speaking directly to the Empire. "This is Earth," the message began, "and we will not bow to your threats. You may have power, but we have something you cannot understand: the will to survive. We give you one warning: leave our planet or face the consequences." The message was short, but powerful. It was a declaration of war, not just against the Empire, but against the idea that humanity was powerless. The world had spoken. They would not surrender. Back in the military command centers, General Carter and her team began working on the next steps. They had no way of knowing how the Empire would respond, but one thing was certain. They couldn't afford to wait. Earth's defenses, while advanced, were no match for the Empire's technology. But humanity had always found a way, even when the odds seemed impossible. As the days passed, the tension on Earth grew. Families spent their nights huddled in shelters, soldiers trained endlessly, and scientists worked around the clock. Everyone knew the stakes. But amid the fear, there was also something else. Hope. Hope that humanity could do the unthinkable. Hope that against all odds, they could show the galaxy what Earth was made of. And then, after several tense days of silence, the alien fleet began to move. Slowly, deliberately, they advanced toward Earth. The moment had come. Earth's fate would be decided in the next few hours. But as the Empire's ships neared, something unexpected happened. Instead of fleeing, the people of Earth stood firm. They weren't just waiting to be destroyed. They were preparing to fight. The Empire may have underestimated humanity, but they were about to learn a lesson they would never forget. This wasn't just a fight for Earth. This was a fight for the very spirit of humanity. And no one, not even the most advanced empire in the galaxy, could predict what would happen next. The calm before the storm didn't last long. As the days passed, the massive fleet from the Galactic Empire finally made its move. It wasn't a sudden attack, but a carefully calculated step forward. The alien ships began to descend, their enormous shadows casting darkness over entire cities. The world held its breath, watching in awe and fear as the threat became undeniable. Earth's leaders were on high alert. Every nation's military had been preparing for this moment, knowing that the fate of the planet hung in the balance. But no one truly knew what to expect. The Empire's technology was far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. No matter how much they prepared, Earth's forces had no real way of matching the power of the alien ships. General Anna Carter stood at the front of the operations room, her face grim. A holographic map of the world glowed in front of her, displaying the positions of Earth's remaining defenses. Her mind raced, searching for a way to outsmart an enemy that seemed unbeatable. But even she could feel the weight of the situation. The Empire was ready to strike. "We don't have much time," she said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "Once they make their move, we have to be ready." The room fell silent. Earth's military forces, spread across land, sea, and air, were preparing for the worst. Each nation had put aside old rivalries to form a united front, but they knew it might not be enough. The ships overhead moved closer, their advanced technology a constant reminder of the vast difference in power. Without warning, the first strike came. A bright flash lit up the sky as the alien fleet launched a barrage of energy blasts toward the planet. Cities all over the world watched in horror as massive beams of light shot from the skies, obliterating entire buildings and causing widespread panic. The Empire wasn't playing games. They had made it clear. They would not wait for humanity to surrender. They were going to destroy. The first targets were major cities: New York, Beijing, Moscow, and several others, each one struck with precise, terrifying force. In mere moments, entire areas were reduced to rubble. But amidst the chaos, something unexpected happened. Humanity fought back. Despite the overwhelming odds, Earth's military forces did not hesitate. From fighter jets to missile defense systems, the response was swift and coordinated. But the alien ships were too powerful. For every missile launched, for every fighter jet that took to the skies, the Empire's shields and advanced weaponry made short work of them. Earth's forces were outmatched. Yet, the soldiers fought on, refusing to give up. General Carter watched the scene unfold on her screen, her heart heavy with the loss of life. But she knew one thing for certain: humanity would never bow. They would fight until the very last man and woman. "We may not win this battle," she muttered to herself, "but we can make them bleed. We can make them regret underestimating us." Across the globe, the story was the same. Citizens were pulled from their homes and thrown into chaos, but they did not panic. People took to the streets, organized into makeshift defense groups, and fought with whatever they had. In some places, civilians used whatever tools they could find: crowbars, rifles, and even old weapons from past wars, to defend their homes. They didn't have the technology of the Empire, but they had something just as powerful: determination. In one city, a group of engineers working in a hidden underground lab managed to reverse engineer a piece of alien technology. They were able to send a warning signal to the rest of the world, alerting them of a possible weakness in the alien shit shields. It wasn't much, but it was a start, a small victory in a fight that seemed impossible. Meanwhile, Dr. James Callaghan, the former astronaut, broadcasted another message to the people of Earth. His face appeared on screens across the globe, calm and focused. This is not the end. They may have the power, but we have something they can't understand. We have the will to fight. And as long as we are alive, we will never give up. His words struck a chord with millions. Humanity's resolve was tested, but not broken. It was clear that the Empire had underestimated their spirit. As the day wore on, the first wave of strikes subsided. Earth's cities were battered, but not destroyed. The damage was severe, but the fight wasn't over. General Carter, seeing the resilience of Earth's people, realized they had one advantage the Empire could never anticipate: unpredictability. They might not have the technology, but they had something the Empire lacked: a heart. And that heart was beating strong, with every soldier, every scientist, and every civilian standing ready to fight for Earth. The Empire had thrown the first blow, but Earth was far from finished. The battle had only just begun. After the first brutal wave of attacks from the Galactic Empire, Earth's military forces were battered, but they had not been broken. The world was shaken, but humanity's resolve was stronger than ever. In the wake of the destruction, people were left with a single question: how could they possibly stand a chance against such overwhelming power? Across the globe, governments and military leaders began searching for answers. The Empire's fleet, while devastating, had not yet completely destroyed Earth. Some cities remained standing, and the survivors were determined to rebuild. But their efforts weren't just about recovery. They needed a weapon, a way to strike back, something that could challenge the Empire's near-invincible technology. It was in this desperate search for a solution that something unexpected was discovered. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in an old mining facility long abandoned, a group of scientists and engineers stumbled upon something remarkable. While exploring an underground cavern, they found a hidden vault. Inside, they uncovered relics of an ancient civilization, one that had lived long before Earth's recorded history. Among the artifacts, there was one item that stood out: a strange, metallic object, unlike anything anyone had ever seen. The object hummed with energy, as if it had a life of its own. It was sleek and smooth, almost organic in appearance, yet clearly artificial. It glowed with a faint blue light, and scientists immediately realized that it was far beyond any technology known to humanity. They suspected that it was of alien origin, left behind by a species that had once lived on Earth long before humans had risen to dominance. But how had it remained hidden for so long? Dr. Claire Hayes, one of Earth's top scientists, studied the object for days. She was fascinated and horrified at the same time. The technology was advanced, too advanced. Yet it held the key to Earth's survival. The relic seemed to store enormous amounts of energy, and after testing it, the scientists confirmed that it had the potential to disrupt the Empire's shields and weaponry. It was a weapon, but one that had been buried beneath the Earth for centuries. Dr. Hayes knew that they had to act quickly. The Empire wasn't waiting for humanity to find a solution. Every minute counted. Working with a team of engineers, she began the difficult task of reverse engineering the ancient weapon, hoping to adapt it to Earth's technology. But the challenge was immense. The weapon's energy source was unlike anything humans had ever worked with. There was a chance it could fail, or worse, backfire, but they had no other choice. Meanwhile, The alien fleet remained above Earth, their massive ships looming over the planet like a dark cloud. The Empire had not launched another direct attack since the first strike, but it was clear they were watching, waiting for Earth to either surrender or be crushed under the weight of their superior force. As the days passed, Earth's forces scrambled to make use of the mysterious relic. In one of the most secure military labs, a team of engineers finally succeeded in activating the weapon. The object hummed to life, sending a pulse of energy into the surrounding equipment. It was working, but they still didn't know how powerful it really was. Could it be enough to break through the Empire's shields? Would it even make a dent? The moment of truth arrived when the Empire sent another transmission, a warning. "This is your final chance," the cold voice of Emperor Kale echoed through the airwaves. "Surrender now, or we will erase your world from existence." The world stood still at the words. People everywhere felt a heavy weight in their chests. But this time, something was different. General Anna Carter stood before the global military leaders, her face hardened with determination. "We will not submit," she declared. "We have a weapon, and we will use it." The message was sent, loud and clear, to the Empire. Humanity wasn't backing down. In the underground lab, Dr. Hayes and her team were ready. The weapon, now fully charged, was aimed at the sky. It was a long shot, but it was humanity's only chance. The energy buildup was immense, and as the beam was fired, a brilliant blue light shot into the atmosphere, arcing towards the Empire's fleet. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. The beam collided with one of the alien ships, and for a brief second, the entire sky lit up as if a star had exploded. The ship's shields flickered, then collapsed under the power of the blast. The weapon had worked. The ship's defenses were down, and for the first time since the Empire's arrival, humanity had struck a blow. The alien fleet, surprised and shaken, scrambled to react. The beam had only struck one ship, but it was enough to show the Empire that Earth was not helpless. The weapon, though ancient, had been humanity's trump card, and they had used it to prove that they would not go quietly into the dark. But the victory was short-lived. The Empire wasn't finished. The fight was far from over. Yet, for the first time since the invasion began, there was hope. Earth had a weapon. They had a chance. The world was watching, waiting for the next move. And now, the Empire would know. Humanity would not be defeated. Not this time. The Empire's fleet, though shaken by the unexpected strike, quickly recovered. The ship that had been hit by the mysterious energy pulse had been forced to retreat, but the other ships in the fleet remained hovering over Earth, their weapons ready. The Empire had underestimated humanity's ability to fight back, but they were not about to make the same mistake twice. General Anna Carter stood before the war room's vast screens, watching as Earth's military forces continued to regroup. The battle was far from over. The ancient weapon had given them a glimmer of hope, but the Empire still held the upper hand. They had the numbers, the firepower, and the advanced technology to wipe out humanity with a single command. Yet, despite this overwhelming power, Earth was still standing, fighting with everything it had. "We've shown them that we're not just going to roll over," General Carter said, her voice filled with quiet determination. "But we need more. One hit won't be enough." Her words rang true. Earth's forces had managed to disrupt the Empire's shields once, but they knew that it wouldn't be long before the Empire adapted. Humanity's survival depended on finding a way to break the cycle, to push back, and to force the Empire to retreat. The scientists working with Dr. Claire Hayes had discovered something critical in their research. They had traced the Empire's power source to a massive energy core deep inside each of their ships. If they could disable the core, they might be able to take down the entire fleet. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was the best option they had. Dr. Hayes and her team were working tirelessly to refine the weapon's capabilities, trying to focus its energy in a way that would penetrate the heart of the Empire's ships. It was risky, and they had no guarantee it would work, but there was no other choice. Meanwhile, The Empire had made it clear that they were not finished. Another transmission came through. This time, it was a direct message from Emperor Kel himself. His cold, commanding voice echoed across Earth's communications. "We have seen your efforts, humans. You are brave, but foolish. You cannot win this war. Surrender now, and we will grant you mercy. Resist, and we will erase you from existence." The message sent a wave of fear across the planet, but it also reinforced humanity's determination. There would be no surrender. There was too much at stake, and Earth's people had already lost so much. The survivors had seen their cities fall, their loved ones taken, but they had also seen the courage of their fellow humans, and that courage could not be destroyed. In cities around the world, people gathered, not to cower in fear, but to fight. They were building barricades, setting up makeshift defenses, and organizing in the hope of surviving the next wave. Even those without military training stood ready to defend their homes. They were no longer just civilians. They were soldiers in the fight for Earth's future. As the days passed, Earth's military continued to strengthen their forces. The weapon that Dr. Hayes and her team had developed was ready, and the engineers had devised a plan to launch a full-scale assault on the Empire's fleet. The weapon would need to be fired in unison with Earth's other military forces, each strike working in tandem to bring down the alien ships one by one. At the same time, General Carter's team began coordinating with resistance groups around the world, directing them to key positions where they could support the military's efforts. It wasn't just about fighting back. It was about reclaiming their planet, their homes, and their future. The final assault was set. Earth's forces, unified in purpose, would strike at the heart of the Empire. The weapon, charged and ready, was aimed at the energy cores of the alien ships. The world waited for the signal. "We can do this," General Carter said to her team as the countdown began. "We've come too far to turn back now." Dr. Hayes stood in the lab, watching as the weapon powered up. It was their best chance to stop the Empire. She knew the stakes. If they failed, it would mean the end of humanity. But if they succeeded, it would prove that even the most powerful empire in the galaxy could be defeated by the determination of a single planet's people. As the final moments drew near, the air seemed to buzz with anticipation. The weapon was activated, its energy surging toward the target. Across the world, fighters and military units took their positions, ready to strike. The Empire's ships hovered above, confident in their victory, unaware of the fury that Earth was about to unleash. The countdown reached 0, and the first wave of energy shot toward the Empire's fleet. The massive beam of light ripped through the sky, striking one of the alien ships directly. The shields flared, but they didn't hold. The ship's core destabilized, and the ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The battle had just taken a turn. Earth's forces weren't going down without a fight. The Empire was about to learn that underestimating humanity was their greatest mistake. The Empire's fleet trembled as another one of their colossal ships exploded in a brilliant fireball. Earth's weapon, a relic of ancient origins, was proving to be far more powerful than the Galactic Empire had ever anticipated. In a single coordinated strike, humanity had destroyed 2 of their strongest vessels. For the first time, the Empire's seemingly unshakable dominance began to falter. On Earth, cheers erupted from command centers as news of the successful strike spread like wildfire. General Anna Carter stood tall amidst her team, her eyes blazing with a renewed sense of purpose. "This is our moment," she declared, her voice strong and unwavering. "They've underestimated us for the last time." But in the Empire's flagship, the mood was far different. Emperor Kale, seated in his throne-like command chair, glared at the holographic display of Earth and the fleet's position above it. His once calm demeanor was replaced by frustration. "How is this possible?" he barked at his commanders. "These primitives should not have weapons capable of this destruction." The Empire's commanders scrambled to respond. Their fleet's shields had been compromised, and the humans were striking with precision and coordination that the Empire had not expected. Kale clenched his fists, realizing that the humans were not just fighting back. They were adapting. Back on Earth, Dr. Claire Hayes and her team continued to fine-tune the ancient weapon. Every strike was a delicate balance of power and precision. The weapon drew an enormous amount of energy, and each shot had to count. "We're pushing it to its limits," Dr. Hayes said, wiping sweat from her brow as she worked. "But if it holds, we can take out another ship." General Carter nodded, her focus unshaken. "Do whatever it takes, Doctor. We're all counting on you." Meanwhile, Earth's forces weren't just relying on the ancient weapon. Around the globe, fighter jets, drones, and missile systems were launching coordinated attacks on the remaining ships. Civilians joined in as well, using guerrilla tactics to sabotage Empire-controlled zones and disrupt their operations. Humanity's resilience and creativity were proving to be their greatest strengths. In one such resistance effort, a group of engineers in South America managed to disable an Empire drone factory. Using hacked alien technology, they created an electromagnetic pulse that fried the factory's systems, leaving it inoperable. Similar acts of defiance echoed across the world, showing that humanity was united in its fight for survival. But the Empire wasn't about to retreat without a fight. After recalibrating their defenses, they launched a counteroffensive. Massive beams of energy rained down from their ships, targeting Earth's key military installations. The skies lit up with fire as Earth's anti-aircraft systems fought desperately to intercept the attacks. One such strike hit a military base in Europe, causing devastating losses. General Carter felt the weight of each report, but she refused to let it weaken her resolve. "We're not giving up," she said firmly to her team. "Every second we hold them off is a step closer to victory." In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Hayes received a breakthrough. Her team discovered a way to amplify the weapon's power by synchronizing it with Earth's satellite network. This would allow the weapon to strike multiple targets at once, potentially crippling the remaining fleet. The only problem was that the process required a manual override from a satellite control station in orbit. A plan was quickly formed. A small team of astronauts, led by former pilot Commander Marcus Lee, volunteered to launch into space and activate the override. The mission was perilous, but the stakes left no room for hesitation. As the shuttle carrying Lee and his team launched, the world watched in silence. It was a gamble, but one that could turn the tide of the war. The shuttle dodged debris and enemy fire as it ascended into the atmosphere. Once in orbit, the team worked quickly, racing against time to activate the override. On the ground, Earth's forces fought valiantly to buy the astronauts the time they needed. Every second felt like an eternity. Fighter jets swarmed the skies, distracting the Empire's ships, while ground forces launched wave after wave of attacks. Finally, Lee's voice crackled over the radio. "Override activated. The weapon is ready for multi-target strike." General Carter didn't waste a moment. "Fire the weapon." Dr. Hayes and her team initiated the sequence. The ancient relic glowed brighter than ever before, its energy building to a critical point. A series of beams shot into the sky, each one aimed at a different ship in the Empire's fleet. The precision was flawless. One by one, the Empire's ships exploded, their massive forms breaking apart in fiery destruction. The tide had turned. Earth's forces roared in triumph as the remaining ships began retreating, their once invincible fleet reduced to ruins. But General Carter knew the fight wasn't over. The Empire would regroup, and they would come back stronger. Yet for now, humanity had achieved the impossible. They had proven that even against insurmountable odds, the spirit of Earth could never be extinguished. The shattered remains of the Empire's fleet drifted in Earth's orbit, a silent testament to humanity's resilience. The skies were no longer dominated by the alien vessels that had loomed so menacingly just days ago. Instead, they were filled with a sense of hard-earned victory, a fragile yet undeniable hope that had united the planet in its darkest hour. General Anna Carter stood in the command center, staring at the monitors displaying the retreating remnants of the Galactic Empire's fleet. The Empire's flagship was the last to leave, vanishing into hyperspace with a flicker of light. "They'll be back," she said, her voice calm but firm. "And next time, they'll be even more dangerous." Dr. Claire Hayes, standing beside her, nodded grimly. "The ancient weapon won us this battle, but it's not something we can rely on forever. We still don't fully understand it, and there's no telling how much more it can handle." General Carter turned to the room filled with military leaders, scientists, and engineers who had worked tirelessly to defend the planet. "Then we prepare." This was just the beginning. Across the globe, similar sentiments echoed. Cities were rebuilding, and people were recovering from the shock of the invasion. Despite the devastation, humanity had emerged stronger and more united than ever before. Countries that had once been divided by politics and borders now worked together with a singular purpose: to ensure Earth's survival. Commander Marcus Lee, hailed as a hero for his role in the orbital mission, returned to Earth amidst cheers and gratitude. "We proved we could fight back," he said in a speech broadcast worldwide. "But let this victory remind us that we're not alone in the galaxy. If the Empire sees us as a threat, others might too." Humanity's newfound unity extended beyond defense. Efforts to reverse engineer the ancient weapon were already underway, with scientists and engineers collaborating to create new technologies based on its design. This relic, a gift from a forgotten era, had given humanity a fighting chance. Now, it could be the key to their future. At the same time, the people of Earth sent their own message to the stars. Using the same transmission channels the Empire had used to issue their threats, Earth broadcasted a warning. "We are humanity. We do not seek war, but we will defend our home. Let this be a lesson to any who would threaten us." The message was simple but powerful, carried by the same determination that had driven humanity to victory. Across the galaxy, it was received by countless civilizations, some curious, others cautious. The Galactic Empire, once feared as an unstoppable force, had been dealt a humiliating blow by a single planet of primitives. The news spread quickly, shaking the foundations of the Empire's reputation. Emperor Kale, back in his throne room aboard a distant station, seethed with anger. The humans had not only defied his command but had humiliated his fleet before the eyes of the galaxy. "They will pay for this," he vowed, his voice low and menacing. But not yet. His advisors, wary of another defeat, urged caution. The humans had proven to be more resourceful and dangerous than anticipated. The Empire needed time to rebuild and reassess its strategies. For now, they would wait, watch, and plan their revenge. On Earth, the rebuilding continued, but it wasn't just physical structures that were being reconstructed. A new era of innovation and exploration had begun. Inspired by the technology of the ancient weapon and the challenges of defending their planet, humanity turned its focus to the stars. If the Empire could travel across the galaxy, so could they. Under the leadership of General Carter and other visionary leaders, a global initiative was launched to expand Earth's capabilities. Space stations were reinforced, new fleets were built, and research into faster-than-light travel accelerated. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was becoming a force to be reckoned with. Dr. Hayes, now a key figure in Earth's scientific community, spearheaded efforts to study the ancient relic in greater detail. "This weapon saved us," she said during an international conference. "But it also raises questions. Who built it? Why did they leave it here? And if they faced a threat similar to the Empire, what happened to them?" These questions fueled humanity's curiosity, pushing them to look beyond survival and into discovery. Earth's people were no longer content to wait for the next invasion. They wanted to explore, to understand, and to ensure that they were prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. The scars of the invasion would remain for generations, but so would the lessons learned. Humanity had shown the galaxy what they were capable of: resourcefulness, unity, and an unyielding will to survive. They had turned the Galactic Empire's arrogance into their greatest weakness and had emerged victorious against impossible odds. As the days turned to months, and months to years, Earth's warning to the stars became more than just words. It was a declaration of humanity's place in the galaxy, a species that could not be underestimated, a force that would rise against any threat. And so, as Earth's people looked up at the stars, they knew one thing for certain. The galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity had found its voice, and it was loud enough to echo across the universe.